Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Primal Chaos here, and part of the reason that I've managed to pump out so many videos in such a short period of time, the channel's only really a week old, is the drive to sort of connect with the audience, and that's because you guys have been so instrumental in sort of recommending songs, and giving me great direction in where I should head next and things like that in the comments on YouTube. And also on Reddit, when I post a video on there, I get so many responses, and it's truly heartwarming, and there's things like last night, for example, I got my first message from somebody that I'm aware of where English isn't their first language, and that just blew my mind. A gentleman named Henrique Santos from Brazil checked in, and they were real apologetic. My English isn't so good, and he was stoked that he was able to understand everything I said in English. Which I said was hilarious because I typically talk way too fast, and it's amazing that he could understand me at all. But it was just such an amazing thing to be connecting with somebody on the other side of the world who English isn't their first language. And while that feels really good, I know that it's more to do with the connection that this community has with the songs and the music and the bands. And it's just great to feel like I'm starting to become part of that community, So anyway, in honor of Enrique, I am going to do something a little bit outside the box today. I'm going to check out Parkway Drive Chronos, which I am led to believe is an amazing song. Unfortunately, they don't have a music video for it. So that's typically the lane I wanted to stick in so I could see what's going on and react and stuff like that. But this brings up another point. Why not do live versions? Most of the time, I feel like, not always the case, but most of the time, the studio versions are just better representations of the songs in general. So if there's a choice, I'll typically go for the studio track. And again, I want to hear what the producer has to add and the production value and all that sort of stuff. However, in this case, there isn't an option. And I don't want to let my boy Enrique down. So I'm going to do this live at Rock Palast. I guess that's how you say it. Yeah, so let's check it out.
Everybody having fun?
Yes.
Why did I even ask? Fuck this. Thank you. Thank you guys very much for having us this evening. We got a little bit left for you. Enjoy. Keep sending your friends over. If you have a friend that hasn't crowd surfed today, lift them the fuck in the air. This song is called Chronos.
All right, let's do it. Cool. Gotta love a wah pedal.
Go outside of me. That's right. That's right. I am the thunder and the rain. The confusion and the pain. And where leave our wounds clean and bleak and golden. I got the whole world swinging from the end of a chain and a corner. I got your love immanent in every death will be pain and a corner.
Right, okay.
The spark of the ember. You are smoke fitting the wind. In time, I will return to thee. In time.
Okay, so yeah, this is interesting. Again, another Parkway song that isn't what I kind of expected Parkway to sound like. I just had to Google it because I wanted to know when this was released, and this is obviously off Reverence, I should say, which is 2018. So this is pretty modern Parkway. It's funny. Like, this is just stadium rock, right? This is a song clearly designed for this environment. And I wonder if that's sort of come about because of them doing shows like this and starting to tailor their music for the setting that it's going to be performed in, because it sounds less metalcore to me, and more just like something like a big rock band like Rammstein or something would do. You know what I mean? It's really interesting. I really like the song. It sounds fantastic. But it's just not what I expected. That little guitar lick is really, it's gonna be tough to jump around actually, because I got the whole concert here. Just that little, hopefully that's about it. This little guitar lick is just really sort of pleasant. I know that sounds kind of dumb to say, but I just really like it. It's got a cool sort of hook to it. It almost tells a story by itself. Nice harmonies. There's something to, something that makes a stadium rock song is that drum beat. It just gives, there's so much space in the drums that it allows the sound to exist in a cavernous space like a stadium like this. Because if you got too much going on, it's echoing around all the walls and stuff like that. This has enough room in the beat to really let the reverb on the snare sort of sing. So you get like, it sounds massive. It's like do do ba do do ba, and I just think that's interesting. I wonder if that's just the nature of sort of these guys learning to compose songs again for these kind of environments. Because I actually mentioned to somebody, I don't know if I mentioned this on any of the other reviews, but in the comments, someone was talking about Parkway, and I was thinking, you know what? I've actually seen Parkway Drive live before. It never occurred to me. It's been, because it was so long ago. This was like 2005 or something like that. I used to work in a record store, and of course, everybody there at the time was, either into sort of emo, like scene culture and stuff like that, or more emo or metalcore, proto metalcore bands and stuff like that. And so I was at work one afternoon, and a couple of the guys there were sort of buzzing about this gig they were going to that night. And it was just a local sort of community hall gig, a place called the Campbelltown Arts Centre, which holds about 150 people, maybe 200 people. And they wanted to check out this new band that had been sort of, doing some cool shit called Parkway Drive. And they're like, Corey, you like music, you got to come and see Parkway Drive. And I'm like, all right, and it was, I went along more just so that I could, feel like that I fit it in. That sounds dumb, but it's 100% what it was. I was like, I'll go see a show with you guys, And so I go into this venue, and there was maybe 5 bands on that night. And someone was kicking on stage when we walked through the front doors. And the second I stepped through the doors, a pair of feet come flying past my face. And I'm like, holy shit. And I'm like, I'm going to just move off to the side. And so I spent a lot of the gig sort of standing at the back wall. Having said that, the room's tiny, right? It's not like I was way back and I couldn't see. It was like I was literally maybe 10 meters from the stage. But the chaos on the floor was insane, because it was the true essence of like a hardcore show from back in the day. It was like, just, there's a certain thing that happens to crowds once they get over a certain size. And, you've got things like walls of death and like circle pits and things like that. But when you have an environment with maybe, there was probably 60 kids in there, in a small confined space, and everybody's just swinging arms and kicking legs and, windmill kicking and or whatever the hell it's called. It was pure chaos. And I hadn't heard any of the bands before. It was kind of my first time hearing the kind of music. I honestly, for the life of me, I don't remember a second of like Parkway Drive or anything like that. But I do remember walking out of that show going, man, that's a whole scene, like it was real different. And And it was a bit of an eye-opening experience, because the great thing about it was, like, the support bands, when we went in there, was probably like the band that was fourth on the bill. The kids there probably hadn't even heard of the band before, but it didn't matter, because it was about the culture and the energy of the shows. And some of it is a little performative as well, you know, because in those sort of pits, you sort of create your own space, and then you demonstrate your skills of, you know, interacting with the music physically, you know. And there's people who are really good at it, and then there's a few guys you can see who are kind of new to it, and they're kind of trying to figure it out, all the movement and stuff like that. But yeah, it was like, from a purely anthropological point of view, it was just real interesting to stand back and watch, you know. But when I say, you know, I've never heard Parkway before, to a degree it's true, because I don't remember anything from the show. I just remember the energy of all the performers. The memories of all of the things that I remember from what happened on stage are all fused together with all the different bands, you know. So yeah, but I guess it was a hell of a privilege to be able to see someone like Parkway before all of this, when they were just a small band that was touring the coast in like a white minivan, you know. Yeah, so I wish I could remember it more, but a lot of birthdays since then, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, let's jump back into it. But yeah, what I'm getting at is, this is a whole different style of music now, and I believe it's because, you know, they've spent so many years doing festival shows and stuff like this up to this point, and they just write songs they know that the crowd's going to really vibe with. So this is just rock, man. It's 100% just a rock band. Tasteful, really tasteful soloing. Wait for it.
Summer breeze. If you have a lighter, this is where you put that shit in the air. On lead guitar.
Okay, kids. Here's something you may not be aware of. When you go to a show now and a slow song like this comes on, everyone pulls out their phones and turns on the flashlight and waves it around. That used to be lighters. Back when everyone used to smoke, you'd go to a gig and, you know, the slow song would come out. And, you know, I've mentioned before, but back in 93, I went to a show at Eastern Creek by a band, you know, Guns N' Roses. I was about to say by a band called Guns N' Roses. Who doesn't know who they are? And, you know, I think it was actually Skid Row was supporting or whatever. And it was basically becoming Twilight at the time. And they played 18 in Life, or one of their slower songs. And I turned around and there was 180,000 people there. They say that it was officially about 100,000 people, but half of Sydney gate crashed that show, and it was a complete disaster security-wise and things like that. But just turning around and seeing people all the way to the horizon waving lighters was one of the most intense experiences of like my 14-year-old life at that point. But yeah, when he says lighters, that's coming from the old school, right?
Jeff Willing.
I guess everyone still smokes in Europe. This is really nice. Really nice. Oof. Wow. He's fingerpicking that. That's crazy. That's some Dave Gilmour shit. Okay, I just wanted to stop there. Again, I hate stopping. I got to keep stopping, because if I don't, I'll just go through the whole video without saying anything, and that's not why you're here. So, it's, again, I just like to point out when I see a steady hand, you know, like somebody who is confident enough to play just what's necessary rather than shred the shit out of it and put heaps of notes in there that you don't need. it shows great restraint and maturity, and I love pointing that out because particularly young people, they compose with their egos, and I'm guilty of this too. I want every guitar solo I ever do to be the flashiest thing that anyone's ever heard. But to be honest with you, when you hear amazing bands, they don't do that, you know, unless they're known for being a guitar virtuoso or something like that. But a song like this doesn't need a million notes in a solo. And I don't know where this is going. He may move into something else, but he's playing just what's necessary. And those little double stops, those little harmonized parts he was playing with two fingers, just beautiful. And the fact that he's playing fingerstyle is just really unusual also, particularly with a guitar like that. You know, because they tend to be set up to be super low action and super, you know, typically you'll play with light gauge strings and things like that. And so they don't lend themselves to fingerstyle in the way that some other guitars would be that are closer to an acoustic or something like that. I mean, obviously you can do it, but what it does is it takes the attack off, and you get that rounded sort of almost organic sound rather than a plinky sort of sound, and it's working really, really well. I'll see if I can go back just a bit. I just don't want to screw this up. There we go. Let's have a listen again. Nice. That's what I was talking about, the little double stops. Yeah, this just sounds like Pink Floyd or something, you know? Interesting visual. Nice. That's cool. Here we go. Keeps the same motif going even though everything shifts underneath. Again, just great songwriting. You can tell he's enjoying this, eh? He really is vibing with that, you know? Oh, and they're lifting him up too. That's cool. Ah, on both sides. Yeah, nice. All right. You know, it's interesting. The song, it strikes me as interesting anyway. The song's called Chronos, and Chronos is another word for time, or, you know, father time, from like, you know, pre-Socrates kind of philosophy, right? Pre-Socratic philosophy. I looked it up earlier. I'm not that smart, right? But, you know, what that means is, you know, in ancient times, you know, they looked at, when they philosophized about time, they would, you know, relate it to being a person, like a god that was in charge of the flow of time and things like that, like sands through the hourglass. And it's interesting. I haven't really taken a deep dive on the lyrics, but musically, I feel like it really fits thematically because they're taking their time. They're just putting everything where it needs to be in its own space, like arrangement wise. There's so much room to move and to breathe in the solo. And then they do tempo shifts where they bring in sort of like the you know, the drums come back in and bring up the energy a little bit, but they still maintain the pace of the melody. It's just, yeah, like everything just homogenizes together to make, you know, it seems like there's a weightiness to this song, that it means something. It's got, you know, like it feels I'm trying to think, like grandiose in nature, right? It's just like, it feels like a song written about a vast philosophical concept of time. You know, am I overselling that point? Maybe. But it's just how it sounds to me. Like, you know, it doesn't feel like a throwaway song. And I feel like a lot of people are passionate about this song, even though it's outside the box of what the band is known for. Um, it's it's because it feels like an important song because of the care that they've taken to put it together. And, you know, they lyrically and like even just naming the song something that sounds like it has weight to it, it gives the impression that the song is more important than it typically, you know, a throwaway track on an album, you know. And it's all very, very clever. It's almost manipulative in its ability to generate those sensations and those feelings, in a real good way. I don't mean that as a negative. Um, you know, I'm just trying to have a look through the lyrics and see if anything jumps out that I just want to call out. But I mean, the first line, right? You answer to me, I am the thunder and the rain, the confusion and the pain. And when I leave, I will wash your wounds clean and leave them golden. You know, it's there's it's not just your typical bombastic, energetic fare. There's some deepness and richness to that visual imagery. You know, yeah, this is a great song. And the other thing too is I think every show needs a song like this too, because you just get punished for like 45 minutes or an hour, and then everybody just wants a break. And you give them something rather than just going, okay, here's a slow, boring track. You give them something that makes them feel like there's this soul to it, rather than just a lot of you know. And this is the point where the band really connects emotionally with the audience on a level outside of just pure aggression. That in and of itself is, it's just like ingenious. I won't say planning, because maybe it's just one of those things where it just happened. But, you know, if you were skeptical about it, you'd be like, boys, we need a song that like connects the audience, is deeper, weightier, and is a great fit for later on in the show when everybody's a bit worn out and they need to be re-energized. And again, it's starting to build up at the end, bringing you back into the more aggressive elements of the show. Whew. This is a professional band, man. This is what these guys do, you know? None of this is by accident. Just strong motifs in the soloing too, you know? You know what it is? I think he approaches his melodies in his solos like a singer would. There's repetitive melodies like you would in a verse chorus situation, and just really clean melody lines. There's no trickery. There's no string skipping or whatever. You can hum along to these solos in the same way you'd be able to hum along to a pop song, you know? And it can't be understated how useful that is in connecting with it with the listener. Nice. I love the bass player was taking a back seat on this part. They're chilling out over there. Interesting, that little slightly different rhythm part there on the guitar that they both doubled. Previously, just the lead guitar player did that over the top of the regular rhythm guitar pattern. I noticed that earlier. And it provides just this cool little harmonized kind of energy to just the rhythm guitar in between some of his solo parts. But now they both do it, and it sort of punctuates the fact that, okay, this is the final riff. We're going to do the same thing together. We're locked in. And, you know, I'm assuming this is the end of the song. Yeah, there it is. Right, this is where they'd probably go off stage. Everyone loses their rag, so they got to come back and punch you in the face again with some heavy stuff. Excellent. All right, so this is the part where I jump in and talk to you guys about Enchroma. 1 in 6 guys is colorblind. 1 in 200 women are colorblind. That's a lot of you. So click on the link in the description. It'll take you to Enchroma where you can get your eyes tested. If you find that you're colorblind, you can select from a range of really stylish glasses. And if you do decide to buy one, you can get 10% off by using the code CHAOS in the checkout. Okay, so summary. Again, not even close to what I expected, but having heard it, it 100% makes sense. As I mentioned earlier, as far as like just how this is a necessary song for a band like this to have a fulfilling live experience, right? And again, I don't know if these bands sit down or if they've got helpers, assistants from the label who sort of point them in directions, or maybe they just do what they've seen other bands do, like what they enjoy seeing live. They're like, they'll compose a song and go, oh, this would be fantastic for this part of the show just before we go off stage, in the, before the encore, But yeah, I mean, let's talk about this, like the performance and stuff like that. It was great, as good as any band of this sort of ilk should, be able to reproduce their songs. It sounded really cool. I love there's some cute little things in there, like the fact that the solo was performed without a pick, which is a stylistic choice that's an oddball one for a band in the metalcore genre. And I'm here for it. Anytime people do things outside of the box, I'm totally here for it. As much as I'm trying to get into this genre as a whole, I've said before, the problem with genres is they tend to be a breeding ground for mediocrity. They tend to spew out a bunch of bands that are basically clones of, the top 3 or 4, and when you get into that sort of territory, if you're not sort of within the genre carving your own pathway, you're kind of just not really adding to the overall story, and I think that's really important for young composers to understand. Listen to me talking like I'm a world-leading composer. If anything, I'm a musical hobbyist. So take from that what you will. But it's, you need to, I've lost my point now. Anyway, let's get back to the thing. Obviously there wasn't sort of the visual imagery that you would be normally associated with me watching one of the music videos, but sometimes it's great seeing how guys perform live on stage. And honestly, it was joyous. You can tell that they're stoked to be playing that show. This wasn't just painting by numbers. I think at this point in their careers, they're still amped on doing these big shows like this. And that's really good to see. It must be hard getting up in front of 80,000 people and performing and just shrugging it off like it's nothing. So I don't know how much credit to give the guys for that, because it must be amazing getting up there every night, feeling that energy coming back to you, and people appreciating your art, But yeah, I don't think I got too much more to say. Everything sounded good. The mix was good. As good as any live show should be. But yeah, I really enjoyed the song, and I think I'll go and listen to the studio version of that. Now that I've sort of broken the seal on that one, and I'm not going to spoil it for myself, I can really go and listen to the studio track and see sort of how it differs and what sort of energy that has. And I'm really excited to do that. This is a great song. It's right up my alley. It's got a lot of moving parts that really work well together, but it's not overly complex. And that to me is just really good songwriting. So anyway, that's it for me. Thanks for checking in. If you've stuck around this long, you might as well hit like and subscribe, hit the bell, because there's plenty more where this came from. I've got a couple of things I'll be uploading today. Hopefully if I get time to edit them and stuff like that. So, yeah, give me some recommendations in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys want to see me react to. Rock on.